I definitely might have peed a little. That's for sure. Like it was very exciting. Like
So what I'm saying is it's all snowballing because at the moment the All Blacks themselves, in terms of preparation for this year, are getting nowhere.
he's one of the best type 5 players to do the 1%ers. If you ever see him around the ruck, he will always try and charge down the box kick every single time. He'll get up to his feet. Those are the little 1%ers.
But going to France and winning in Paris and beating the France, is that life-saving for his job?
That's the only thing that's going to save his life here, save his job.
Then bang, out of nowhere, Kyle Steyn comes from winger on this aggressive line like a cut from the old school for the ages and completely bamboozles everyone off the pass from Turner, a little pop.
We're not talking like just a little, but they're going to embarrass the English, I believe.
Welcome back to GBRANZ. I'm Andy Rowan. As usual, joining me is Wallabies and Brumbies winner Jeremy Poole and Crusaders Hall of Famer and All Blacks legend Justin Marshall. And if you are a company that wants to partner with GBRANZ so we can keep producing this content, email me at studio@red9studios.com and I'll put the link in the description to this episode as well. Plus, you can check out red9studios.com for more details. JP, I was going to talk about Borthwick, but I feel like you've lost the changing room at home, mate. What's going on?
You have one microphone that's not charged, right? Like my 10-year-old daughter, Charlotte, decided to charge her iPad instead, so put a bit of a delay to the show. But, just lost. I've lost home. Like, I think once you lose the change room, that's it. You're gone. Your authority is completely out the window. Someone can come in and get this family ready for the Rugby World Cup next year. Is that what we're talking about, Andy?
There is nothing worse than when you have like a charger or something that you've put somewhere and someone in your family moves it.
There is nothing worse, but I tell you what, there is a little bit worse for Steve Borthwick at the moment. He lost to Italy. Like, well, I was talking about France. Oh, mate, I thought Italy was, we didn't even have to discuss Italy. Look, please, haven't they have just improved out of sight over the last few years, well, probably the last 5 years, to be honest. But I did not even think England would go down to Italy. So I think there's some big movement about to happen.
What a performance it was from Italy, first of all, JP. You made the reasonably bold statement that Steve Borthwick would come under pressure and that potentially his job was on the line. And I pretty much rubbished that, to be perfectly honest. I felt that they were fine and that they were a work in progress and they were just slightly off their game at the moment. But, I think probably that performance at the weekend shows that there is something wrong within that camp, and the players has to take as much responsibility as Steve Borthwick, because as Atoje said in his post-match interview, he said, look, as captain, there were things out there that we were doing that we shouldn't have been doing, and we allowed them to function when we had talked about ways that we could shut them down, and we didn't do that. So, he did front up in that regard, but, for England to lose that impressive record that they've got against Italy and change history, it just mounts the pressure. And then, like you say, they've got France to have to play now as well. So, yeah, boy, oh boy, I can imagine the heat is really coming on Steve Borthwick and that team in general, and a lot of the individuals as well.
Ironically, Dave Rennie, when he lost to Italy, that's when he lost the Wallaby job. It was like, well, Italy's a curse for coaches, I believe, because they've always been sort of, I suppose, seen upon as a side that you should never lose to. And yeah, I don't think Italy has ever beaten England. So, and it was never in the conversation, mate. Look, I think we're always talking about that French game and the attitude of the players. Everyone's talking about, they got ahead of themselves against the Ireland game. That I wasn't talking about that in terms of their ego. I was talking about their attitude and just doing the basics. And that's not getting ahead of yourself. That a lot of that is just the hard work, or there's a little bit of angst within the side. Could be around selection. Could be around training. Players could be tired from the lines, sort of carrying some niggling injuries. But I'm really sorry. To lose against Italy, And now to go in against the French side, that biggest upset, Scotland, right, beating them as well. What about 90 points in a game too, though, Marshy?
Yeah, unbelievable, wasn't it? Look, it was actually entertaining rugby throughout the entire Six Nations for the weekend, and Wales were tenacious against Ireland as well. It was good to see them front up. So yeah, across the board, I think the Six Nations delivered, but it delivered some results we weren't expecting. Like you mentioned, the Scotland beating France, and obviously England getting beaten by Italy. But look, there are some dysfunctional elements of England's game at the moment that'll be really concerning, and one of them is defence. Like the way that and how good is it to have a genuine Italian name out there? The centre, Minichello.
Wow, what a game! What a game!
I thought you were going to say Liner.
Or Smith. No, wasn't going to get to that point. But
Ione?
The way that he punched the line and went through to score his try, and then equally when he made another break off the Ioane inside ball, and then just steamrolled Bumfard over the top of Elliot Daly, and they went in for their second try. It was just that's concerning that England are getting opened up that easy. Like I say, fair play to Italy. They are a much tougher nut to crack now, and if you're slightly complacent or off, you'll get bitten by them because they're good enough now, and they can test and have shown any of the top nations. They tested the All Blacks a couple of years ago, really pushed them hard. They've really, really been pushing France recently, and they've knocked over Wales at home. They've beaten Scotland, now they've beaten England. So, like, at your peril, do you tread your way into an Italy game, because you could very well find yourself slipping on a banana skin.
That's the thing about this Italy squad, though, because they've been threatening. The under-20s program has been really strong for a number of years now, and they've got lots of young players that have come up. Where can this Italy side get to?
Oh, look, we've seen. Oh, sorry, Marshy, did you want to?
Yeah, good, mate. No, we've got Italy are coming here to play the All Blacks
in Wellington
in June. Yeah, I know. Dreaded Wellington, like the All Blacks cursed stadium at the moment. So, that's a litmus test for them. Like, to come to New Zealand, and I say this respectfully, because you know what the that part of the world can get like. Not naming people, but like the French, if you're not careful in what you say, but they usually come here and they'll get 30, 40, 50 points put on them. But their challenge now is to be able to travel to this part of the world, the Southern Hemisphere, because they were really good against South Africa. It was either last year or the year before where they pushed them in test matches as well to take on the All Blacks in Wellington, where the All Blacks traditionally struggle recently and historically over the last decade. That's when we'll see how good they really are, Andy Rowe, in answer to your question in a long-winded way.
Oh, look, I like their game. It's actually very similar to a Brumbies style of game where they compete incredibly hard at the breakdown. Like on the weekend we saw, 1 to 15. As soon as there was an opportunity, they went bang straight at the breakdown. Defensively, they make their tackles. They get up into the line, and probably the biggest difference for me over the last decade is when it's turnover ball. They look to pass, they look to run. We saw a break, I think it was about the 17th minute. We saw a loose head prop take a steal, bang, bang out to the 5'8", and normally Italy's game is bang, straight down the field, kick, but pass, Monty Ione out on the wing, chip kick, unfortunately went a little bit far, but their first reaction was to attack, and I think this is where this Italy side, and yes, that inside centre, wow, he's got massive legs. What is with the big legs of inside centres at the moment?
I know.
They're enormous. Can you imagine?
He uses them.
Yes, can you imagine tackling those? Wow. But I agree with you, Marshy. Look, going down to Southern Hemisphere and playing away, that's the real test, is when you can go away and win away from home. But, sort of going back to England and sort of looking at that result, like it's a devastating result. Like, again, we've seen many a coach lose their jobs because of a loss to Italy. And this is when Italy was poor, I suppose. But I just cannot see how England can turn it around again and go to France and beat the French after them losing. And I think the Six Nations are still on the line, I believe.
Yeah, it is. But what if they do? Where do you sit? So where do you sit now? You said a week ago that Steve Borthwick's neck was on the line, but you were waiting for the French game. So he's fast forwarded your aggressive comments. So now we're obviously looking at the fact that he's under much more pressure at this stage than what you were expecting, because you didn't see him getting tripped up by Italy. But going to France and winning in Paris and beating the France, is that life-saving for his job?
That's the only thing that's going to save his life here, save his job, because it means then he has the players. To me, it's the losses suggest he's lost the change room. Right, that's what it suggests to me, because it's their attitude on the pitch. We're not talking about they've got ahead of themselves. We're talking about they're not doing the basics. And again, it goes back to defence. I said this 2 weeks ago. Where has their defence gone? Like, they were in a very aggressive, off-the-line type of side. And again, it's all attitude and defence. So if they can go to Paris, beat the French, it means he has the side. And he can continue through to the Rugby World Cup. If he doesn't, and I'm thinking, well, I'm not thinking, I know that the French are going to absolutely smack them. Like, we're not talking like just a little bit. They're going to embarrass the English, I believe. Then they have to change coach. And why wouldn't you look at like a John Mitchell who's just taken the Roses like to their first Rugby World Cup, like someone that could fit in pretty quickly, a caretaker coach or such? Because you've still got a year, mate. There's still plenty of time for a coach to come in and to be able to get a side ready for the 27 Rugby World Cup.
Razor.
Oh, Razor. Oh, you heard it first. GBRANZ.
Eddie Jones, mate.
Come on, champ.
Champ, I've got this.
When the Wallabies lost to Italy and sacked Dave Rennie and brought in Eddie Jones, maybe that's a sign or a little bit of an indicator that just losing to Italy does not mean replacing your coach.
No, but again, like, you're going to go in, you're going to get some results. Yes, of course. Like, I mean, I hate to say it, but it's potentially a little bit similar to Razor's position, where he was winning games. It just didn't seem like it was a fair call to get rid of him. I thought Razor could have continued being coach. Same with Steve Borthwick. He could still continue to be coach. I'm just saying, like, if you look at the results, are you going to actually win are you going to the Rugby World Cup to win, or are you going there just to get some results? Like, I just feel that you've got to make a change if he loses to France and loses to France in a bad way.
I want to talk about the All Blacks coach, but first, just looking ahead to this final round of the Six Nations, because anyone can win it. Well, France can win it, Scotland can win it, and Ireland can win it. France, Scotland, 16 points each. Ireland are on 14. France hosts England and Ireland hosts Scotland. What are we saying, lads? What are we saying? Can Scotland win the Six Nations?
Exactly. We're saying great tournament, firstly. And Scotland are capable of winning it. You would have to put France in the box seat, to be fair. They're the ones, like, getting that bonus point for the 4 or more tries was important for them, just to keep them slightly ahead of everybody else. And then the fluctuation in results have sort of seen them now be able to probably be the dictators on where they finish up. But you just never know. You've got a underperforming England with a coach under pressure, potentially has lost the changing room, as Jeremy Paul alluded to. And they're going there as massive underdogs. So, man, what doesn't fire you up than going against the old foes? It's not exactly uncommon knowledge that they don't really like each other, the French and the English. So if you're going to ever go and make a statement, if you're English, that's to go and bout the French in Paris. So, but in my mind, the French are then, they are in control of their own destiny to go out there and win that game. But if there's an upset there, wow, yeah, Ireland, Scotland, she's all go. And I think even the game that's not relevant, the Wales-Italy game, will be hell of an interesting one in Wales, because Italy have already been to Wales before in the last couple of years, and well, it was last year, and beat them there.
And if Wales can beat Italy, then they'll finish. England will finish equal bottom wooden spooners, and Borthwick ain't keeping his job.
Yeah, the Welsh aren't that fond of the English either. They're going to get everyone picking on them, to be fair. It's like the Australians in the Southern Hemisphere.
Oh, mate, who doesn't like it when the Poms are down? We can kick them a little bit more. Love this. Isn't it? Yeah, look, I think you've got to give Ireland a lot of credit here after their first performance against the French. There was a lot of question marks over them. They came out and put a really dominating performance against the English. We're good against the Welsh, but at home against the Scottish, I think. Look, and the Scottish, to their credit, mate, like no one gave them any hope against the French. Scored 50 points. Wow. They're just in itself to score 50 points in a test match in itself is quite remarkable. So, would you say that it's definitely Ireland's game? No, look, I think the Scots can definitely upset, but I've been saying it for weeks now, man, the French, they're going to absolutely smack the English, because there's a chance for them to hit them when they're down too, right? Like, who doesn't love playing a wounded dog? Like, it's just so good. Like, it's just, mate, here he is, a chance to really give it to this English side and really pump them. So, I can see a really good performance from the French this weekend.
I'm very keen to move on from the Six Nations too, but it's been great, and it's really intriguing that we've got at the weekend. I know there was huge news here, which we're going to move on to in a minute with Andy, with the All Blacks, but just in the Six Nations, JP, how good was it to see a front rower with a show and go, a fend and speed, like Kire, the Welsh prop? How good? I know it's gone viral on social media, but why wouldn't it? Like, mate, the front rowers usually, when they're in try scoring, Case Muse used to literally, when we got half a metre out from the line, he scored something like, 14 or 15 tries for the All Blacks. All of those were within half a metre. Like, he used to shove me out of the way when he could see the ball and an opportunity just to use his big frame and his big old chest to barrel his way over and score it from half a metre out. But Kire, mate, he's come out as second receiver, and he's just gone, you know what? There's just a little tiny little back there. I'm going to swat him and step in. And it was pretty awesome, eh?
You just love a guy backing himself, especially a loose head prop. But I definitely might have peed a little. That's for sure. Like, it was very exciting. Like, look, we've seen some incredible tries over the history, and look, some of the props, but. Mate, hookers, seriously. We've seen some long-range tries.
What's the longest range one you've scored, JP? Trip down memory lane, mate.
Long range?
Yeah, go on.
Made some long range. Well, we scored one off the kickoff once against the Lions where I ran 50. Went to actually, I still remember it now. Came off the top, went to Graham Bond, the old Bondy. Bang, went straight through. He gave it to Paddy Howard. Paddy Howard gave it to George Smith, and then George Smith drew the fullback, gave to me. I ran 45, scored. Didn't get seen again for 10 minutes because it was in Joburg and it was at altitude, so I was dead set dying. I was dying. I didn't get seen again for 10 minutes in the game. I couldn't catch my breath.
I do remember that try, actually. That was actually a very good try. And I'm not surprised that you're fond of it, and you've obviously pretty much kept it in your memory bank because you've described it very, very well. All the players that were involved in it. But
Dave Rennie, All Blacks coach, beats Jamie Joseph. Marshy, your reaction?
Look, New Zealand Rugby Union took a long time to make this announcement. So they were making it for, I would imagine, due diligence reasons, where they've been down the pathway with both coaches and for various reasons, and there will be a lot. It is complicated making an appointment when you are looking at what the coach wants when he's being brought in. And that's a big part of the pitch when they interview. You know, you go in there and you talk about term for a start off, how long you want to be coach and how long they're prepared to give you to sit in that seat and to get results. You look at personnel of who you want to bring in and whether or not they feel that criteria will fit. But equally, you've got to give them a really good spiel on why and how you're going to be successful for this very, very important jersey, and make sure that you protect the history that's been created. So all of those dynamics come into it, and I know they would have done the process really, really diligently, like I said, and obviously they felt that for whatever reason that the right time, because believe me, I don't believe Jamie Joseph will not coach the All Blacks at some stage. I just feel that they have obviously come to the conclusion, because of it being 2 years out from a World Cup and a few other variants, that this is the right time for Dave Rennie. And he's obviously impressed them enough to be able to do that over this 2 year period. My mindset is that Jamie probably wanted a bit longer, where he could possibly look at bringing Tony Brown in at a later stage when he's more available outside of his contract that he's locked in with South Africa at the moment. That's me personally speculating. Nobody's told me. I don't really know, but if I was formulating a picture, that's the picture.
Why do we think Dave Rennie is best suited to come in and make a difference within 2 years heading into the World Cup?
Well, I think you look at the decision and the universal acceptance of it. Like, so when Dave Rennie was announced as the All Black coach, I think universally, like all the people that came out and showed the support, particularly ex-players that he coached, guys like Sonny Bill Williams, Quade Cooper from the Australian side. Look, he had a lot of respect amongst the Wallaby players. Look, he debuted, I think it was 32 players in 2 years. So pretty close, almost like that 17 that Joe Smith did in 1 year. But he did this in 34 games too. So I think it's actually, statistically, the highest amount of debutants. And he went through a very difficult time too with Australia between 2020 and 2022, where we literally just lost everyone after the 2019 Rugby World Cup. So it was a tough time. Again, another New Zealand coach comes in. One thing I absolutely loved and adored about Dave Rennie as a Wallaby coach was he was a first and only coach, I think across all sports too, to actually have the Wallaby players sing a dual national anthem with the First Nations, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander verse. It was incredible. Like the Wallabies with the Indigenous jerseys, he's very big on the First Nations and the Indigenous side. And I think, that shows volumes of the type of man he is, because he culturally, being a very proud Māori as well. So, I loved all that with Dave Rennie, and I thought he just is that bloody freaking Italian game, man. That just like he beat England, goes to Italy, lose to Italy, and then I just thought he was magic over his time, and I wish him all the best. I think he's been a universal acceptance for his position as the new All Blacks coach.
Yeah. I think from what I heard and speaking to former and some of the current, but more the former players, Dave Rennie 100% had the changing room. He was very well liked. And yes, he was ambitious in terms of what he wanted and to the direction he wanted Australian rugby to eventually get to. And yeah, many thought that he was prematurely basically sacked from the role. But I guess what Australia loses is good for New Zealand rugby. I certainly feel, in answer to your question, Andy, that I think if you're looking at coaches and basically how they have their foils within their coaching group, and good coaches have really good synergy, and in particular when you're a head coach, you have that foil in there that helps you, challenges you, works alongside you, and that you can rely on. And that reliability factor is really, really important when you're coaching a team like the All Blacks, because of the pressure it brings. Like we've just seen that 72% is not acceptable.
That's not good enough. Wow.
To coach the All Blacks, So that type of pressure that you come under, you need the right people around you. And I just wonder whether or not Jamie himself actually looked at it and said, you know what, I know I can do this job, but I know that I will be the best coach for the All Blacks when I've got my sidekick Tony Brown with me, and that's not that. He knows himself that is not a closed door for him, that it doesn't actually have to happen right now. And because of that, I think maybe he rang Dave Rennie and congratulated him on the job. So there's no animosity there. I think I don't think he's bitter that he's missed out, because I think deep down he knows that he will get it, but when he gets it, it'll really be under his terms, and he'll be able to get the right people around him that make him a successful All Black coach.
Oh, that's sharp, Marshy, because that's a good little segue into who would you pick, like the assistant coaches. Because just quickly, Michael Checker, our good mate, he just actually got this wonderful interview and was quoted under Trent Robinson. He's never been an assistant coach before, Michael Checker, and he said this has been arguably the best learning experience of his life, because now he knows what to demand from his assistant coaches. Like it's as though like it's taken a decade for him to learn. Like just shows, right, like how important being an assistant coach is. So, mate, have we got any front runners? Like, because this is a big makeup, right? It's not really just one coach here in Dave Rennie. It's all about the power three.
Yeah, well, the other side of it is, and we have to be brutally honest here, this is not a smooth transition. Like, Dave Rennie is still in Japan, and he won't be here until the end of that Japanese season, and depending on whether or not the side is successful in getting into playoffs or not. So it's not ideal. We should have already had at least one leading into 2 possible training camps for the All Blacks by this stage of the year. With what the All Blacks have got coming up, we've had none. And we haven't had those group of players even be able to get together, look at their fitness, look at who's carrying injuries, all those sorts of things that come in with having these training camps. So we are way behind where we need to be, let alone the head coach not arriving for possibly another couple of months or however long it's going to be. Which then means, when I think about it, he needs to make his appointment for his assistant coach very soon, because then he'll have to trust them to take control when he can't be here, and at least get some camps together once they've had, and this is the other side of it, some selection meetings. Like, who the hell is going to go to those camps? Because everybody, he said, is starting from a clean slate. There is no All Black team from last year to put together in his mind, because he said, I'm putting together a new All Black team. Everyone's starting fresh, and everybody should be on warning that I'm going to pick on form. So what I'm saying is, it's all snowballing, because at the moment the All Blacks themselves, in terms of preparation for this year, are getting nowhere. So, and what you've also got to think about and protect is there is a current group of coaches that still probably haven't been told where they sit in the mix. These are the assistant coaches, the Scott Hansons, Jason Ryan, in particular, are the 2 that really spring to mind, because Jason Holland's moved on. David Hill, I think, is involved, and a few like that. So, they've got to sort this shit out quick, man, because we know what we've got ahead of us. It's not an easy year, and the international window is bearing down on the All Blacks quickly. So they need to make some decisions. The rumours I'm hearing is he'll probably likely gather the people that, like I said, with Tony Brown and Jamie Joseph, that he knows well around him, the likes of coaches he's coached before, which would be guys like Neil Barnes at the Chiefs has coached with him, Tom Coventry, Andrew Strawbridge. So people that he trusts and knows. There's some speculation out there that those guys are ones that he could possibly be bringing in as assistant coaches underneath him.
He'd have to have some gun assistant coaches, like teed up for him to have got the All Blacks job. The NZR must have gone, you got some guns lined up. We'll take you, because he wouldn't be going into those chats empty-handed.
Or he just pitched and said, when I was a successful coach, and he was here in New Zealand, let's not forget that, very successful with the Chiefs. And when I knew that I was going to potentially be able to get the best out of my New Zealand rugby players, because he's been elsewhere since then, these guys around me were the ones that I knew that they helped me, and they made me the best coach that I could be. So, yeah, for sure, he would have had to have had that for them to trust him. that he was going to make, because we do not want the situation that we've had. I said this in the last pod where, after 6 months, you've got one of your assistant coaches leaving, like what happened with Leon and Scott Robertson. So, yeah, that would have been very important for the rugby union, Andy. You're right. So he'll know. Possibly people at the New Zealand Rugby Union know, but at the moment, we're still all in the dark.
Tell you what, I'd like to see Tana maybe have a crack too. Like, he's doing some good stuff.
He's actually another one that has been spoken about. Yeah, and Tana brings with him, like,
Tana.
If I not only coaching pedigree, yeah, exactly, yeah. But who doesn't get worried if the Predator is running the water, regardless of whether he's coach or not? It's like. He comes running out into the field. As a player, you're shitting yourself, even though he retired 10 years ago.
Marshy, he was quite demanding as a captain, eh? Like, there were stories about him, like, really holding people to account if they turned up late or were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Tana Umaga, like, he'd be a good man to have in the All Blacks environment, wouldn't he?
Yeah, he would be, and few words in doing that, like less is more stuff. There wasn't a big sort of sit down and sort of nut it out and listen to excuses and all the bullshit. He just got straight to the point. But he was very particular on discipline areas, because that to him showed that you actually cared. You cared about training. You cared about fronting up for analysis sessions. You cared about putting the boots on to play for the All Blacks. You cared about looking after the changing room and the facilities you were around, all of that sort of stuff. He was really on point with, and that's something that young players, particularly when there's going to be a lot of young players potentially going to South Africa with a big squad being chosen, where Tana Umaga could really just, like I said, just with him wandering around the changing room. My first All Black manager was Colin Meads, mate, and 1995.
Wow.
And,
Wow.
I can tell you what, but like when he wandered around, or he actually had some words to say that weren't managerial, they were more around rugby. When we weren't, a couple of times we had poor performances, and he didn't say a lot, but when he said them, they resonated. And when he stalked around the changing room, and you had cracked open a beer maybe a little bit too early straight after the game, and he gave you that stare, you're like, oh shit, I don't know where to hide here, because Country's looking at me. So yeah, those types of people, I had Ian Kirkpatrick, was one of our basically mentors that came in, Dave Lovage, people like that are old school, but they know the school. They were great around the environment, because they just had respect. And Tana would have that big time.
Yeah, look, the great coaches surround themselves with good people. I mean, Rod McQueen changed the game in Australia because he was the first one to put on a defensive coach from rugby league, in John Muggleton. That was when we went to the 99 World Cup and had one try scored against us in 7 games. Like, it'll never be repeated. So it's those coaches that can be innovative, but also too surround themselves with good people. And you even look back at when Dave Rennie was the under-20s coach from 2008, I think, to 2010. He won 15 games out of 15. Then went to the Chiefs. Yeah, he won 2 titles in 2012 and 2013. Aaron Cruden, Sonny Bill Williams, Liam Messam. Wow, what a little spine there he had. But look, it's going to be big. Who he chooses. Like, I think he potentially could have come in too and said, "Look, the current coaches, assistant coaches, I can actually mold them and work with them." Or he could be one of those guys that could have come in and gone, "Yeah, I can change this whole. I can get everyone ready, particularly for," because you're so right, Marshy. This Springbok tour is huge, mate. Like, there's being able to develop players, because their talent identification here has to be spot on, because you've got a tour here that you can now take these guys, and if they flop, then you've just wasted the best opportunity to be able to blood young guys. So yeah, look, there's a lot going on for the All Blacks, and particularly like well behind schedule, I'd believe.
What changes? What changes in the way the All Blacks play, do you think? Like, what's Dave Rennie's DNA on the field?
Look, I think we've got to get back to being much more attack focused. I think a lot of the problems the All Blacks have had, particularly in the air, the aerial combat, the All Blacks have been losing for a couple of years now. I don't think we want to enter into that competition. We've still, in the air, we've still got to deal with it, because the opposition are going to kick you the ball. But why necessarily then just go to and fro and enter back into box kicking and going back into the aerial battle when you're quite conclusively losing it in a game, but yet you've got this persistence because it's a territory-based mindset of, well, we've got to kick from here. And it's giving the ball back to the opposition. I just feel that Dave Rennie, if he's going to make this team take a step forward, it's allowing New Zealand rugby players to play instinctively right across the field, like in terms of the full length of the field, the full width of the field, use that space and look to run into it before and pass into it before kicking into it. Still have kicking strategy. But when the All Blacks play at pace and tempo with quick ball and have ball skills around the forwards and the back row, middle row, and even the front row, we've seen combining with the back line and just put some real tempo and pace in the game. Not many teams in the world can handle the All Blacks when they play like that and they're in sync. So I'm hoping he's heading in that direction and gravitating a little bit away from falling into this mindset that the world is in, that you don't want to, you're too afraid to make errors, particularly in your own half. So it's box kicking or high kicking and try and win the ball back in the air. It's like, you know what? Fatigue defenders, hold on to it in your own half for 15 phases and then break them apart because they're tired, rather than not be tired because you've kicked it back on the second phase. So hopefully he enters into it that way, because I think that's what's inside the All Black and the New Zealand rugby players' soul in the way that we want to play. That's our DNA. That's what we go to along any school that's around, and the kids might be in bare feet throwing rugby ball around, but they aren't bloody well kicking it. They're passing it, That's why we've got such great passing skills. So
I tell you what, I hope Dave Rennie doesn't watch this show, because there's nothing scarier than watching an All Black side run the fucking ball. I'll give you the tip. I'll give you the tip. Oh, just that heads up footy, right? Like that,
exactly.
that willingness,
stuff,
that willingness to attack. And look, we've seen glimpses of it. But for me, Marshy, I think it's going to come down to selection. Like, I think what we've seen over a few years here, right, is, look, we saw the Damien McKenzie experiment, right? Like, and stuck with him. And I think this is what Dave Rennie has, probably that Razor didn't, is the ability to make these really, not outlandish, but some selections that represent a transition. And so, lucky enough too, he also has this tour where he can blood players in. But there are 3 games before the tour, which he's going to have to cement aside. And I think, look, again, 5'8", right? Like, Bodie Barrett played awesome on the weekend. A lot of contention around that. The back row has always been the most competitive, right? Like, always the back row. Like, where is Artie going to play? 7 or 8 or 6? I feel if he can nail down selection, which will then also nail down the culture of the side, I think then the playing style, who doesn't love seeing a running, responsive type of All Black side that are just willing to attack from anywhere. So, look, I think there's some big things, but I think Dave Rennie will at least have a bit of time. Like, I don't think he'll have the pressure as much as what Razor did.
Well, he's straight into the coalface as well, isn't he? Let's think about it. Like, he goes into Ireland, Italy, who have just shown that they are at a different level now, and then our favourite French, who are coming back out to New Zealand, and hopefully bringing a side that is very close to the one that's currently playing in the Six Nations, because
no chance. They
might be finding themselves not in the final at Twickenham if they don't accumulate points. And man, wouldn't it be amazing if we saw Antoine Dupont and Ramos out here in New Zealand, unlike we did last year? But anyway, nobody's holding any grudges about that anymore, are they?
I want to talk about what you both just said about so selection and game plan. When you marry those up, like, how different do you think his selection will be due to his game plan being, if he's running it a lot more and passing the ball into space, Marshy? What players does that lean towards him bringing into the side that maybe have been on the fringes or that have been playing well in Super Rugby?
Well, I think all, because like within a game plan that any player is playing in, whether it be NPC or Super Rugby or even Club Rugby, good coaches and talent spotters can see the potential of the player. Sometimes players are hamstringed by the game plan they're having to work within. And certain teams will play to their strengths. You know, like let's think about when the Blues won the title a couple of years ago. Their strength was all inside the 22. So they played a kick-based style game. They got inside the 22 and they just bashed away at you with big midfielders, their wingers, their forward pack. They wore you down 18, 20, 25 phases, whatever it took, you know. So it didn't show the running skills to a degree of the Bowden Barretts, Caleb Clarks, Rico Ioanes. Those types of players weren't playing the style that Dave Rennie potentially could coach because they were unable to do that within the game plan. But that doesn't mean that as a good coach, you can't see that they're able to play that way. It's just that they're restricted by the team they're currently in. So, you know, my answer to that question is all New Zealand rugby players have it within their rugby skills to play across the park. You know, so everybody comes into the mix. The one thing that he will do, and he has said, is geez, we're loving the old changing shed acronyms at the moment, aren't we? He will sweep the shed of everybody that is a current All Black, and he has the opportunity to freshen that team up. And I think he'll get a little bit of rope if he does that from the New Zealand public. He certainly will from me, to go, this is the way I want to play. These are the types of players I'm going to need to pick to get to that point where I'm going to be able to be very confident that we are going to be the best team in the world again and challenging for the Rugby World Cup. It might cause us a couple of little fluctuations in form, but you'll see straight away the direction I'm going in. And he's going to have to be brave to do that, but by hell I hope he is, and we see the future of All Black rugby in his first squad, rather than what we've been seeing over the last decade. There will still be remnants of that, no doubt, because good players don't become shit players overnight, but there is a real chance to freshen this side up in terms of personnel and the way that they play.
He's got Adi Severe over there in Japan at the Kobe Steelers. How likely do you think it is that we see a new All Blacks captain?
Wow, it's a hard-hitting question, Andy. It's unlike you, actually, to ask not only a hard-hitting one, an intelligent one, so that's put me under the pump, to be perfectly honest. But look, there's some chat going around about Retallick coming back as well, and obviously the Adi Severe factor as well. And look, you know, again, players that he's seeing regularly, I guess, you know, he's seeing Aaron Smith in Japan too, if he wanted to just start to say, pull everybody back. But that to me is not doing what I said that we need to do. Like, there's a reason that Adi Severe is over playing in Japan, because he's played a hell of a lot of rugby and he's done everything in the game. There's a reason Brodie Retallick is there as well. Both of them over 100 Test All Blacks. And if you throw Aaron Smith in the mix, so is he. They moved on for a reason, because they were successful All Blacks. They tasted that success and they were wanting different challenges in their life. Now, bringing them back into the All Black mix may bring back some experience, and it may equally, and Artie's slightly different because he's still a current All Black on a sabbatical, but you know, the others that they are speculating about, and I would throw Artie into the mix as well, is like, well, is this doing what I just said, refreshing this team and giving it the makeover that it needs? You know, like, why bring Retallick in when you've got the talent of Sam Darry, even Josh Berry, who's 123 kgs and carrying the ball like a champion, Fabian Holland, Jamie Hanna, your Dom Gardners, there's Tupu Va'i, that they're everywhere. Josh Lord's playing outstanding rugby. Do we need Brodie Retallick? I'm not saying he's a shit player now. He could still come in and be a champion player, but if we're going to get to where we need to get, we can't go backwards to go forwards. We've got to just go forwards and leap forwards, not just tenderly tiptoe forwards. Just leap into it and get going, man. So, in terms of All Black captaincy, the first thing you have to do is obviously command a starting position, don't you, JP? So, does Adi, if he comes back, do that? Does he affect the back row balance because it's hard to find his exact position a little bit? So is he the guy? Does someone like Will Jordan come into the mix? Because he'll start every week if he's fit and ready to rock and roll. And I don't buy into this fact that if you're way back at fullback that you're too far away to communicate with the referee. What a lot of bullshit that is. So
I know. Yes.
No, it's crazy, isn't it? So yeah, and when Scott Barrett comes back after a hell of a good break, refreshed, and uncertainty to where he sits, he's not an All Black captain and tough and a Barrett for the fact that he's soft and wouldn't take on the challenge and doesn't want to be All Black captain. A guy like him would go, you know what, fuck this, I'm rolling my sleeves up and I'll prove to you that not only am I still the best lock in the country, I've got captaincy written all over me, I'm a leader, I'm going to do it by example. Okay. He's the type of guy that was going to dig his toes in and go, bring it on.
What about that whole list of second rowers, and your last one was Scott Barrett? Like, what about how many? What about how many second rowers? Like, I was just like,
I know.
What about Tupu Vite? What about Fabian Holland? What about Scotty Barrett? My goodness, I didn't realize you actually had so many second rowers, so depth. But actually, great point, mate. Scott Barrett, he's the incumbent All Black captain. Ardie Severe, is he going to come back? Again, that back row balance, yes. Look, I think if you're going to pick a captain, and because this is the other thing, Dave Rennie has a clean slate. So, look, Ardie Severe is an incredible leader that you follow on the field, right? He's always one of those players that he leads by example. Scott Barrett, I love Scott Barrett. I think he's one of the best type 5 players to do the 1%ers. If you ever see him around the ruck, he will always try and charge down the box kick every single time. He'll get up to his feet. Those are the little 1%ers, those little extra working, hard working moments that sides need. So, look, I don't think they have a short list or a list that is not big enough to be able to choose. Like, I think they've got a lot of players. I think Will Jordan's a great example. Cam Roigard as well. I think he's a young player that will cement his spot moving forward as well. And we all know great halfbacks make great captains, don't we? So, they're the best talkers on the field. So, look, that actually brings up another great conversation. Who's he going to select as the skipper? So, I think there's a lot on the place, but it better happen very, very quickly because you're running out of time.
I want to finish off the show with a bit of analysis. You guys have been watching the games, every game, every minute. Marshy, what are you seeing? What are you seeing trending out there at the moment?
Yeah, well, what I've really liked is, that the game is, to a degree, quite kick-focused. I've just spoken about that, to try and retain the ball back and get territory. But equally, the defences are so well organised now. Teams are analysed to within an inch of their life. So what you have to be is super creative off set piece. And I've seen a couple of real gems come up in Super Rugby and in the Six Nations in recent weeks. And I just wanted to highlight a couple of them to show how with manipulation you can beat that defence if everybody fulfills their role. And the first one was the Crusaders. They scored it from a scrum against the Chiefs just on around their own halfway line. It was just nice delivery from Noah Hotham. He went to Rivers Reihana, was the first receiver. And then you had David Havili running this real hard short line. Looked like he was going to get it. Held a couple of defenders, but it went behind him to Shea Fihaki. Shea Fihaki then had Big Lester Whainganuku storming his way on a short ball line, but it went behind him as well, which equally held 2 defenders, and Fihaki hit Will Jordan. He went through the hole created by those 2 midfielders coming short. He had a player, Severese, out to his left, but he went back inside to Havili, who was original decoy runner, and Noah Hotham, doing what any good halfback, going right through the fat man's track, scored the try. To me, that was just manipulation at its best. Decoys everywhere, more decoys than you would see on opening day of duck shooting season. It was incredible. So I loved that try. Then equally, at the weekend, the Scottish. What a performance from them. But equally, Gregor Townsend, who comes under a bit of pressure, and his coaching staff come up with a bit of genius from line-out, man. Like, honestly, the fact that they were able to piece this together was absolutely outstanding. And what I loved was their ability to create, because, like, creating is not easy. So it came down from the line-out, and Turner, the hooker, came round. Classic Peel. He's going around like he's going to take in contact, but he goes across towards the midfield. And by doing that, he brings in Hugh Jones, who comes on a real short line. And it's like he's going to hit Hugh Jones on that short ball. The halfback has gone deep and wide so they can go out the back. And then bang, out of nowhere, Kyle Stain comes from winger on this aggressive line like a cut from the old school for the ages, and completely bamboozles everyone off the pass from Turner, a little pop. And he basically goes in reasonably untouched. From the Scots, to me, that was genius. So a couple of examples of set piece where these teams are thinking about it and opened up the defence with like a can of worms. It was awesome.
How good's rugby? How good is rugby?
How good's rugby? Ruggers. If
you want to hear more of Marshy's analysis and JP talking about Fraser McWright and want to partner with GBRANZ so we can keep producing this content, email us, studio@red9studios.com. I will put the link in the description to this episode as well. Lads, thanks very much for coming on.
Thank you. How good's Ruggers?
How good's rugby?
Go the Ruggers. Go Rennie. Up the wires.